Now I've sailed both Atlantics and doubled both capes, more times than I can tell. I've fought the big seas in a perish-rigged bark, and froze off of Cape Farewell. And I've cursed the calm in the doldrums where you'd swear that the wind was dead, and huffed to of Cape Horn and a westerly gale, and would row the hair right off her head. To the maggoty horse and the weevily bread, I've added my words of abuse. I've pounded hard biscuit to powder and mixed it with bug fat and jaggery juice. With a gallia or sore a week or more, I've gone hungry early and late. Been served on pea soup that could stand on the poop deck and scare off a blue-nosed mate. Goodbye, you square riggers, your voyaging's done. Farewell to the days of sail. Goodbye, you Cape Horners, and every tall ship that ever defied a gale. I signed on in short-handed Yankee ships with skippers who knew the score. I've sailed with the drinkers who can't navigate a course past the barroom door. I've sailed with men who were seamen and knew how to treat a matlow well. And as for the others, them miserable old buggers, they've made me life a hell. I've known all the boarding house masters ashore, from Cardiff to Tokyo. I've known all the crimps and the waterfront pimps, from Riga to Callio. I've spent me advance at Brassmussen the Danes, and I've lodged with Paddy West. I've known this locked chest for to take half me screw, while Big Nelly, she took the rest. Goodbye, you square riggers, your voyaging's done. Farewell to the days of sail. Goodbye, you Cape Horners, and every tall ship that ever defied a gale. Goodbye to the shellbacks, you rule the wind, the world of sea and sky. Your seafaring is ended, your voyaging's over, you mariners all goodbye. Your seafaring is ended, your voyaging's over, you mariners all goodbye. All right, see you after the trailer.
Fuck you, Izzy. That's not the right finger. Wait.
You can't milk Corey and then leave.
Stop it! You can't do this to me! I think that this stream is always going to be about 3 angles away from talking about Shebangan. Are you trying to say that there's something optically troublesome about the statement that I like to go on the internet and make anime women cry? I do not orchestrate their downfall. I will simply outlast all of them. What? So let's talk about a shed. Alright, it works when it's upside down.
Hello, and good morning, and welcome to the show. It is I, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, the dwarf himself, Horatius. It's good to have you all here today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are y'all doing today? I hope we're all doing okay. Of course, I show up and my lo-fi goes as low as it could possibly go. But good morning. We have so many wonderful faces already in chat. We've got Star, Jeffrey, Jaunty Jackalope, Durandy, or just Andy, Cold Snow Killer, Aoife, Motley Faye, Kunst, Oxen, AK Monkey, Aoife, I already said Aoife, Mad Majide, Oxen, A-Pop, Forever to Dust. Let's see. Milk shots. ... 1, 2, 3, revive. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Welcome in, everybody. It's so good to see you all here, bright and early for this lecture. You guys know how we do it, or maybe you don't. Let me go ahead and introduce myself or introduce these lectures for you all. Hi, Faust. Welcome in, Chris Builds Robots. So here's how these lectures go. We're gonna sit and schmooze for a little while, and then maybe about 10 or 15 minutes into the stream, we're going to get directly into the lecture itself. We're going to be talking about eating disorders today, as you guys could probably read in the title of the stream. But yeah, we're gonna be getting into that. Morning, Maeve. Welcome in. Food, med, and water check. I'm an adult, but I appreciate it. Hopefully that helps somebody. I got some carrots on my desk. I aspire to learn more. It's very important. Is eating to feel something a disorder? Yeah. Well, I don't know. That depends. It's maladaptive, obviously, but yeah, it can be. I shat on the carpet. That's a real one right there. But yeah, we're gonna get into eating disorders here in a little bit. I'm early to class. Oh no, I broke my late arrival streak. Well, you know what? There's worse things. I want to put a little heads up out there. Also, shout outs to Sobek. Thanks, Sobek. Sobek bought the big expensive thing on my throne recently. It's a new monitor. It's this beautiful ViewSonic that's my main monitor now. And what was my main monitor is now my offs monitor. We just have the two, obviously. Three I think is indulgent. But I'm really excited about it. This new monitor is much larger, but it also therefore poses some technical issues. So if we go to a scene and something is really off resolution-wise or really like not centered correctly, I tried to fix everything before we went live today, but I'm just giving you guys a heads up. Some of it, some shit might be wrong. Some things might not be where they're supposed to be in the user interface for today's stream. And as we find those things, we'll move them and we'll fix them. But just as a heads up, because of the new resolution on the new monitor, some things might be a little askew. You look different. Is your screen bigger? It is. So you guys, I'm actually curious. Do I look different to you guys? Is my resolution higher? Because I imagine that's a possibility. I actually thought I looked better. You look more high res? Oh, yay! That makes me really happy. What's up, Broth? Look very dwarfly? Oh, thank you. We would prefer the word dwarven. Oh, new monitor is 4K? I guess. It's, what is the... It's like 3... What's the resolution it wants to be at? It's really nice. It's way bigger. EDK 2BH because I'm on phone and low brightness, but yeah, you look great. Oh, thanks. There are very subtle differences, like the edges are better. You look crisper in general. Let's fucking go. Also, I'm not going to mention it too much, and we're not going to pin it because I don't think that's allowed. But we are, like all of the lectures, we're multi-streaming over to YouTube, so please consider watching over there as well. I really want to... So my YouTube, during the summer, where I laid off the editors for a few months because I couldn't afford them, during that time, unfortunately, my
Hiya,
YouTube...
cheeky horror boogie.
What's up, Calix? Unfortunately, my YouTube got flagged for, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Inactivity. So I have to rebuild the momentum to be able to apply for YouTube partnership. So we got to build that back up again. So viewership over on the YouTube is super nice. Yeah, YouTube is not friendly to hiatuses. I've noticed. And were I a smarter man, I would have more consistently streamed, dual streamed, but I didn't think about that, and now I've learned, and so here we are. You do credit score, yeah. The question earlier, Mad Majdi asked, do I have a favorite shanty? I do. It's White Squall by Stan Rogers. So yeah, it would mean a ton if you guys would go and lurk over on the YouTube. Chat every now and then would be super swag. And obviously, like, sub to the YouTube, follow me there, because the editors are now reinstated. Hera's doing incredible work with the highlight reels. Mark's back on it with the shorts, and they are fucking phenomenal. So please go over there. And I'm actually going to be the toxic little YouTube boy for a second. Be like, comment, subscribe, make sure you ring the little notification bell so you get notifications when we blah, 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 blah. Do the things. Come on, guys. Help me out. If you are over here on Twitch, I highly would appreciate a follow if you're not already following. And we're going to go ahead and get into this lecture pretty soon. You guys ready? You're here to ruminate. Don't spoil a fucking thing, dog. You didn't know dogs were ruminants? You learned today that they aren't. Alright, y'all ready to get into it? You guys want to go, like, take a quick pee, get yourself set, and then we're going to pop on over there. Alright. I love my friends. See, this is what I'm talking about. I'm looking a little off here. Do I still look good here? Do I still look like... Obviously, there's the mouse cursor, but... Gosh, I do look so... Oh my god, I look so fucking clean. Oh my goodness. Look at me! Look at how handsome I am! Gosh, I'm so good looking. You guys are so welcome. Look at all this. Look at all this dwarf man. Oh! King, you ain't seen... Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet, baby doll. Mm-hmm. Alright. God, do my eyes look even better? My eyes look even better. Look at how much better my eyes even look. Oh my gosh. I'm dead serious. I think I may have, in fact, the most beautiful eyes in all of VTubing. I'm gonna be honest. I really do. I think I have the most handsome eyes in all of VTubing. In fact, take... Here. Take a screenshot of my eyes and then post them everywhere and be like, who has more pretty eyes than this in VTubing? Here, relaxed. Excited. Relaxed. Cosmic body horror. Relaxed. I mean, genuinely, I think... Faust, you need this lecture a lot, buddy. If you're like, yeah, coughing on my mouth. Alright. So, let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? Alright. Because I do... No, I mean, sorry, the implication was more that you need psychological assistance for wanting to be your mouth coughed into. It had nothing to do with eating disorders, which evidently you have. So, let me know if I'm off on shit. I don't know. I'm not... This isn't my expertise.
Rock and stone!
Chronic Vice, thank you very much for the follow. Actually a tactic employed by Tagathy the Otter? Yes, and I find it, like, abhorrent behavior. Putting my hair up at a high tail because it's time to get to work. In fact, let's throw the work toggles on, shall we? Yeah. Hey, we got our apron on because it's time for work. Even got my work glove on. I'm not respecting that question. I'm so sorry, Corvallis. They're both barbaric. It's barbarism. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get into the lecture. Thank you to all of you who have already gone over to the YouTube. I really appreciate it. It means a ton. To just go over there and lurk, you know? No disrespect to barbarians? No, I disrespect barbarians. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So we're gonna get into the Psychology 102, Lecture 14, Eating Disorders. Hi, I'm Horatius Silverstone. I'll be your lecturer today. We have some basic rules for the lectures. If you want to ask a question that's relevant to the current topic at hand, please use the raise hand redeem. If you have questions that are not on topic, please save them, maybe even type them up and save them on the side for the Q&A segment at the end. I will be interacting with chat. I take a lot of pride in my chat interactivity with you guys, but just understand that as with all these lectures, it's going to be a little bit less than normal as I'm focusing on delivering this information. But also remember, this is edutainment. I call it edutainment on purpose. This is the redeem hand. Correct. Thank you, Jonty, for giving an example. But this is edutainment, right? Like, on the one hand, we will be talking about facts. We will be talking about things that are, you know, educational. This is one of the main purposes. But it's also entertainment. We are going to make jokes. We're going to talk about my field experience, stuff like that. But anyway, let's talk about me for a second. Who am I, and why should you listen to what I have to say when it comes to these topics? I think that laying out your credentials is important. So I'm Horatius the Dwarf, a English Vtuber by trade, and by trade I'm a mental health professional. I have over 7 years of field experience, almost 8 now. Excuse me. Currently employed as a special education teacher. I have experience with ABA, which I'm not a fan of. Excuse me. Addiction counseling, behavioral management, case manager work, one-on-one behavioral aid in education setting, intensive in homework, crisis management, conflict resolution therapy, and CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. I am very open that I live in the state of Maryland. However, I'm not licensed to practice in your country and territory. I don't know you. I'm not your therapist. Nor will I ever be. That's no, thank you. When I saw today's topic, well, welcome in, Cryoka. Thank you for coming by. Swap over there. Not my lawyer either. No, I'm not your lawyer. So let's restate our goals here, okay? Real fast. So the purpose of these streams are threefold. It's to raise awareness of mental health in the streaming community, which is a woefully underserved topic in this demographic. It's to educate people on the basics of psychology. We are currently talking about stuff that you would find in most higher education Psychology 102 classes. We are not going to be getting into the super deep nitty-gritty of all of the eccentricities of eating disorders today. What I'm going to be talking about is like the most shallow surface level stuff. Now, we might dip our toes into the depths on occasion in these lectures, but the overwhelming majority of what we talk about in these Psychology 102 lectures is pretty basic stuff for people who are studying psychology. So again, like, if, you know, we're going to talk about anorexia nervosa later, right? And so we're going to talk about the basics of anorexia. I'm not going to then, you know, this is probably about a 90 to, you know, a $120-minute lecture. I don't have enough time, nor do I have the expertise and pedagogical skill to be like, all right, let's talk about anorexia for 5 hours, because that's a pretty complicated eating disorder and there's a lot to discuss. But I don't have that kind of time, and we don't have that level of interactivity in this lecture. So let's not kid ourselves. I will be discussing the basics of these topics. And the last, and I think one of the most fun parts of this, the entertainment part of the edutainment of these lectures, is to entertain and share my personal experiences in the field. A disclaimer, and this is really important. Oh, actually, hold on. There's something that I want to pull up. I want to get rid of that. Here. That's the one we should be using. This is the new one we had. Anyway. All right. Oh, hey, your whiteboard short popped up. Nice. I love that one. Okay, disclaimer. Take what you hear and read here and improvise it. These slides will be posted on the Discord, so please join the Discord. It will be slathered in my own opinions and my own biases. This is to cover my ethics and to not do unjust harm to people in my efforts here. In fact, hold on. Let me do this now. I'm going to go ahead and post this to the Mountain Home now. All right, I'm actually going to can I have one of my friends in chat do me a favor and poke me later to share all of my lecture notes onto the Discord? Oh, hey, I know about this topic. Morbid joke quota met. Hey, welcome in, Yomomodori. Good. I'm glad that you were aware of this. And if I make mistakes or if I say things that are incorrect, please tell me. I want to know. Because eating disorders is something that I'm studied about, and I'm a mental health professional. Like, I know what I'm talking about. But, like, this was not my expertise. This is not what I'm most studied in. So if you have personal experiences, anecdotal or otherwise, that you'd like to share later on in the lecture, I'm very interested in hearing them. All right. Anyway, let me reread this disclaimer because it's very important. Take what you hear and read here and improvise it. While much of what I'll be sharing is fact, it is slathered in my own opinions and biases. This is to cover my ethics and to not do unjust harm to people in my efforts here. Right? We're here to raise awareness. We're here to educate. We're here to entertain. Right? So. Welcome to the pre-lecture quiz. These questions will come up later. Make sure that you're paying attention. I will be asking you them later. There will be an actual test in the slides. So there's 5 questions I would like you guys to be able to answer. 1, what constitutes as an eating disorder? 2, what are some antecedents for eating disorders? 3, define what binging is, or tell me the etymology of the words anorexia nervosa. 4, why might someone with ARFID, we'll talk about it, be avoidant of a food item? 5, what are some problems that eating disorders can cause? And this is a separate thing. We'll come back to these 5 questions specifically later. But also, within the slides themselves, there is information for a pop quiz. I'm not going to tell you when the pop quiz is going to happen. It's just going to show up, okay? So make sure that you're reading the slides, watching the slides, so you know what's coming up. So, like, you're prepared to answer the questions, okay? All right, we all understand? Any questions before we get started? This is the last slide before we get into the topics proper, and I'm going to stop reading chat constantly because I'm going to be lecturing. I'm going to have a sip of water and a bite of carrot. You have that much time to ask a question. Kryoko, it's Mr. Silverstone, please. Okay? Actually, real quick, who here knew my last name? Be honest. Who here knows that I have a last name? I'm curious. Type 1. If you knew I had a last name and that it was Silverstone. Right on. Okay. Let's do it. All right, let's talk about eating disorders. What is an eating disorder? Say it with me, class. What is a disorder? When a behavior causes you a level of prevalent disruption in your day-to-day life and or alters your lifestyle. That's what a disorder is, fundamentally. Anything is disorderly if it alters your day-to-day life. Where, like, let's take a really simple example, right? All of us have what I will very pleasantly call our eccentricities, right? We all have our anxieties, the things we're nervous about. We all have the things that make us sad or depressed. We all have things that make us angry. But anxiety, nervousness, depression, anger, These are normal emotions. These are standard fare. Everyone has them. Everyone experiences them. They are healthy to experience. You should have them. However, when those things get so intense that they cause you to not be able to function typically in like your day-to-day life, that is when it becomes, I'm not just a little sad or depressed sometimes, it's a depressive disorder. It's a depression disorder. Or it's not just, oh, I'm a little anxious every now and then. It's, I have an anxiety disorder. Because it literally causes dysfunction or disorder in your daily life. That's when it becomes a disorder. So when we're talking about eating disorders, we're talking about where you have behaviors or attributes or things that you do that are centralized on the concept of eating, and how you approach eating causes you so much disruption that it alters your day-to-day life. So, but like everyone eats, right? Don't start sentences with "so but." You sound like a Philistine. Eating disorders is a rather huge umbrella of disorders that primarily affects a person's relationship with food. It can be behavioral about how someone eats. It can be about meta behaviors towards eating in general. Often it has traces in other diagnoses as well, and we'll talk about that. I have a question. Introspection time, which for those who don't know, introspection is the term that we use for looking inward, like looking into yourself, right? So time to look inside, everybody. What does an eating disorder look like to you? I want to know what with your previous experience with this topic, whether it's a little bit or a lot of it. What does an eating disorder look like? And it's okay for you to be wrong. I want to hear ignorant answers. It's okay to not know things. And we normalize on this channel not knowing things. It's really important. So if you post and say something stupid, no one's going to make you feel bad for that. Eating more or less than is good for your body. Unbalanced relationship with food. Where you binge eat or eat very little to the point where you lose more weight than normal. Eating because it's there. Struggling to eat. Great answers. Stress eating. Eating stuff that's bad for your body. Yeah, these are great answers. For a lot of my friends I've had, it's either not eating food or substituting with caffeine, or eating really restrictive foods because it's considered healthy. Eating to fight my emotional state. When I'm upset, I shovel things in the furnace. Eating too little or too many calories. Eating unbalanced in terms of kinds of food, vegetables, fruits, time to do them. Eating because it's delicious, but you're already full. I give points to curb, all involved. Having an unhealthy relationship with food or eating food. Oh, bet. Obsessively counting calories and hypersensitive about diet. That's, yep. Eating to drown out bad things. Be they physical, mental, emotional. I would say stress eating, but someone already said that. It's okay to be redundant here. Or I binge hard on sugary stuff. One option is eating stuff that isn't actually food or has nutritive value. Pie could be a thing. Don't eat sheds, friends. Yeah, we're going to talk about pica. Don't worry about it. I have some of the best friends on the planet. Your friends are cool, but my friends are kind of the best. Alright. Obsessive habits with a specific kind of food? Yeah. Oh boy, pica. Pica's nuts to me. Oh boy, are you in for a treat? Does refusing to eat socially or very little private? Yes, actually. You also. I know. Thanks. All right. So, the first of these that we're going to discuss is anorexia nervosa. Let's do the etymology here on the side first, because as you guys probably know, I love entomology. The origin of words, and it's very fun and fascinating to me. So nervosa means nervous, and anorexia means without appetite. Ergo, anorexia nervosa simply is translatable to nervousness without appetite. So anorexia nervosa, often just anorexia for short, this disorder manifests in the form of food-avoidant behaviors, dodging meals intentionally. This is generally, but not always, comes from a self-image distortion. Good morning, Josie. Welcome in. This generally, but not always, comes from a self-image distortion. Alternatively, it may be an irrational understanding of weight gain. This is a really big part of anorexia nervosa, where fundamentally it's about avoiding meals, right? You avoid eating meals there's a plethora of reasons as to why someone won't eat with anorexia nervosa, but generally speaking, a lot of the major, most common factors are a huge dysmorphia about their own body. Oftentimes you'll see someone with anorexia complain about being overweight, when if anything, their BMI or body mass index is actually really underweight. So it's genuinely like a lot of the times it's people who like perceive themselves as overweight, and that can seem very confusing from the outside, because like, you know, if you look at someone who's like 125 pounds and they're like, no, I'm overweight, I need to lose weight, and it's like, fucking where are you gonna lose that weight? You're basically nothing but a bag of skin and organs.
Rock and stone.
Welcome in, thank you for the follow. What's up? We're talking about eating disorders. Welcome in. Alternatively, it may be irrational understandings of weight gain. Like, just statistically speaking, we burn a little over 2,000 calories, or about 2,000 calories a day, depending upon your body, for just functioning, which is why when we say like 2,000 calories a day, like that's where that comes from. So like people with anorexia will have this like idea that if they go even a little bit over their caloric intake norms, they're gonna balloon and gain a bunch of weight, which is bullshit. 3,000 calories equals about a pound of weight, about a pound of stored fat. So like, if you want to put on a pound of weight in one day and your body normally uses about 2,000 calories in a day, then you need to eat over 5,000 calories, which is not easy to do for most people. There are some people out there who eat 5,000 calories a day normally. These are like your particularly active people, like people who work in a very physically demanding job. Athletes will easily crush 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day, but also their bodies are using that many calories a day, right? Like their bodies, especially high muscle bodies, use a lot more calories on it every single day. Let's see. However, some executive functioning disorders or some manifestations of ADHD, in which a person may miss a meal out of mistake or neglect, this is not the same thing. So don't just presume, oh, I miss meals sometimes, I have anorexia. Anorexia is specifically the intentional dodging of a meal due to anxiety and nervousness about eating and how that will make you fat or how that will make you gain weight, right? So if you have executive dysfunction, or if you have ADHD, or honestly, there's a lot of things that can cause it, right? Yeah, Pop, that's a great way to put it. Food avoidance does not equal food negligence. Yeah. Yeah, there's also a lot of medications that suppress your appetite. That's an entirely separate vibe, right? So as the name would imply, there's an anxiety or a nervousness aspect to this disorder's core. Anorexia can manifest with a binge and purge-like behavior, where the afflicted will eat, but then induce vomiting or use laxatives to purge the food before it can be properly digested. It's actually really common when diagnosing anorexia nervosa that stool samples are taken, where the person will look, what's the word I'm looking for here? Where like people will, like the doctor, the diagnostic person will like want to either see your stool like with an image, or will collect a stool sample from you as part of the diagnostic process. And if there is detections of like liberal and regular usage of laxatives in your stool, or if you have like just undigested food in your stool, that can often, not always, it's not in and of itself like a silver bullet for the diagnosis, but it is often a factor used to determine if someone has anorexia if they are using like rampant usage of laxatives. That is one of the more subtle things about anorexia. Because I think the growing understanding is that you can purge both up and you can purge down. Like when I was younger, when anyone talked about anorexia, like we're the only time anyone would consider purging, we're talking about inducing vomiting. We're talking about people who are sticking their fingers down their throat and making themselves throw up the meal they just ate, right? In fact, I'll actually be a little bit vulnerable with you guys. When I was younger, there would be instances where I would overeat, because I grew up poor. I'll be very open and honest. I grew up poor, and so as I grew older, and we started to have these opportunities where I got to have like really nice meals, I would overeat because I would be like, this isn't going to happen again. I'm never going to be able to have this kind of nice food again. I need to eat a lot because this is rare. This is special. This is like I need to hold on to this, and then I'd overeat, and then I would be uncomfortable, and I would literally purge the same way. But it had nothing to do with anorexia. I don't ever think I struggled with anorexia myself. It was a different trauma, we'll call it. But yeah. Next, we have binge eating disorder. The definition for binge, by the way, is to binge is to be unrestrained in indulgence, right? The key here is frequency. For indulgence to be a binge, it must be unrestrained and frequent. That's a big part of it. I think all of us like to indulge sometimes. In fact, I openly recommend, I think it's therapeutically valuable to indulge sometimes. You know, once, maybe twice, a couple times a month. Really treat yourself. It's really important to have those like really nice things to look forward to, you know? Whether that's like you had a really hard week at work. So on Friday, order yourself a large fucking cheese pizza and slam that shit over the next day and a half or whatever. You know? Like, it's okay to treat yourself. I think it's really healthy to treat yourself sometimes, right? But to binge is about frequency and the lack of restraint, right? If you're slamming a large cheese pizza twice, 3 times a week, every week, that's probably closer to what we're talking about. You know what I mean? That's not to say that if your regular caloric intake needs you to eat that much, that's different. That's another thing entirely. Don't mistake me, right? But like, it's you have no restraint, and you frequently indulge yourself to these incredible lengths. That is binging. All right, so binge eating disorder. This disorder is primarily characterized as a regular occurrence of binge eating. Unlike the two nervosa disorders, bulimia and anorexia, people with this eating disorder do not purge their consumption. This often leads to weight gain and obesity, as even if the person with this disorder fasts between feastings, which is common, by the way. A lot of people who have binge eating disorder will fast. They'll have like peaks and valleys of caloric intake, right? These are people who are probably needing about 2,500 calories a day, which is pretty standard, right? And these people will like eat, 1,000 or 1,500 calories in a day for a couple of days, and then every 3 or 4 days they'll go hamskis and eat like 5,000-6,000 calories, right? That's not healthy, right? To like basically starve yourself and then to feast, starve and feast on that kind of level is not good for you. Don't do that. That's different than intermittent fasting. That's a whole other thing. I'm not a nutritionalist. We're not going to get into that. Look it up if you want to know more. Yeah, skipping meals and overcompensating correctly. Correct. So the sheer size of their meals and frequency of them leads them to being in a near constant calorie surplus, right? That really does mess you down. Yes, it does. Oh, welcome in, Tag. There are several factors that can lead to this. However, aside from the cultural or social understandings, in fact, we're going to pause there. I want to ask you guys, what are some cultural or social norms that you've experienced that you think encourage binge eating? Because I think that there are a lot. especially in different cultures where, like, I mean, just raise your hand. Just like type in chat real quick if you've ever heard this one. Finish your plate. You finish your plate. Who's heard that? Who's heard finish your plate? Yeah, right? A lot of us, I think. Starving kids in Africa? Yeah. Social gatherings, boredom snacking. Don't even fucking start. Yeah, finish your milk. Mm-hmm. Yeah, finish plate freaking dessert. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you don't finish, it'll rain. I love that because I'm unfamiliar with that term. I'm sure that's from like your part of the world. Cutting and bulking. Yep. You eat like a Marine. Yeah. Right, Java just, I'm Hispanic. Eat, you look skinny. Yep. Everything, there'll be no dessert. Mm-hmm. Some folks will be offended if you don't eat. Yeah, exactly. Commander Gorgonai. Yeah. Like, I have a lot of cultural touchstones with Italian American stuff, right? And that's a huge one. If you don't eat, hell yeah, that's that old shit. But I made some. Yeah. So this shit's common, right? This idea that you need to eat what's there. You need to eat all of the food. Yeah. Anyway, while it's easy to make extreme examples for this disorder's manifestations, many people who struggle with this disorder often just eat a bit too much all the time. These milder manifestations can be misdiagnosed or ignored altogether. I would argue, right? Like, let's say you have a friend, and this friend, you regularly see them like double your plates, right? You go to the diner, and this friend of yours like just doubles your food consumption, right? And you're like, hey, that looks like binge eating to me, right? Like that's pretty easy to spot, right? It's a big display. I think personally that the more insidious version of binge eating disorders are the ones where it's like they eat just a little bit too much all the time, because that's just like, that could be misconstrued as like, oh, that's just bad temperance, that's a lack of discipline, that's they were raised in that kind of family, oh, they're just fat, that can get swept under the rug and ignored, right? So that to me is the most dangerous form of binge eating disorders. And that's why I highly encourage, if you eat like that, to take some time and do some introspection. I mean, really look into it and think about why you do that the way you do it. A little more than you need constantly is so hard to notice. Exactly. All right, let's talk about bulimia nervosa before the ad break. All right. Entomology time. You know me, I love my entomology. Nervosa still means nervous, but bulimia means ravenous or ox-like hunger. Ergo, bulimia nervosa is simply nervousness with great appetite. So it's the flip side of anorexia nervosa. Anorexia nervosa is your nervousness or your anxiety causes you to not hunger or pushes you to not eat. Whereas in this instance, your anxiety and your nervousness pushes you to eat. It makes you ravenous. Now I want to take a brief aside and talk about how like stress eating can look like bulimia nervosa, and it might actually be, in some instances, a version of bulimia nervosa. However, I would say the overwhelming majority of the time, if you're a stress eater or if you eat when you're stressed out, and that's a coping skill, I would most of the time simply say that is an example of maladaptive coping skills. You have found comfort in eating. That's just an unhelpful coping skill. It's just that. But it can be bulimia nervosa, and if you think you struggle with that, you might want to get that looked at. All right. So bulimia nervosa, often just bulimia for short. This disorder manifests in the form of food-indulgent behaviors. This is disorders most associated with binge eating and then expelling the food through vomiting or excessive usage of laxatives. So again, similar to anorexia in that regard, bulimia is a bit more like, you definitely do that. Whereas anorexia, you don't always, but sometimes you do. A major factor for this disorder is the utter lack of control these people tend to have over their hunger. What may be a surprise is that these people will often fast and go great times without eating so their hunger can build to these heights, and then they binge into great depths of indulgence. So, with, again, the difference between bulimia and anorexia nervosas is that anorexia pushes you to avoid food, where bulimia pushes you to pursue it. So when it comes to bulimia, the big thing. Well, maybe Nintendo, maybe it isn't. Like, don't use these lectures to diagnose, right? Maybe use this to pose the question, right? Look into it if you think, but you know, A does not necessarily equal A all the time. Sometimes it's capital A is lowercase a. Does that relate to that? Okay. Cool. We're about to go into the ads here in a couple of minutes, so please consider dropping a sub for yourself, using your Prime sub if you have it, or get gifted a sub. Alternatively, you can always pop over to the YouTube for a few minutes, and then you can lurk over there while you come back here. Let me go ahead and check the YouTube, see if people have been popping out over there real quick. Hey, I see some people are chilling over there in the YouTube. I appreciate that. Much obliged. Every long-term viewer on the YouTube stream gets you one step closer to YouTube partnership, and that would be pretty rad. All right, let's talk about this mouthful of a fucking statement. Avoidance restrictive food intake disorder, or ARFID. Yes, I am. Yes, John T. I highly recommend Twitch Turbo. I'm actually a really big fan of Twitch Turbo. I think everyone should have that. And that's just not because, and that's not just because like I'm a Twitch partner, but like I genuinely think Twitch Turbo is a really good deal. Anyway. So, ARFID. You know it's bad if I use an acronym. Real quick, for those who don't know, maybe you're newer to me, I fucking hate acronyms. I think that they are fundamentally confusing, they don't describe a damn thing, and they are very much just like, I'm quite sure I don't have ARFID, but the blueberry picker is cutting me out. Well, it's picky eating with a few extra steps. All right, we're gonna see you guys after the ads. I'm gonna just sort of schmooze with chat for a few minutes. Have me a little bite of carrot. I had a big cold brew this morning. I probably don't need this Celsius. I want it because it's cold, but I don't need it. Oh, thank you, Cryoko. I appreciate that. Or was that a can? No. I'm eating a carrot. I was contemplating opening my Celsius, which is a caffeinated seltzer. But I don't think I need it. I don't think I need it. I want it, but I don't need the caffeine. I'm good. I'll maybe have it later. I love carrots. They're sweet. They got the crunch. They're fibrous. They're good for pooping. Fantastic. I'm starving. You should eat some, bud. Unless talking about eating disorders is killing your appetite, which I would totally understand. But doesn't fuck with me. I'm too busy being a fat boy. Is that dinner? I'm good? Hell yeah. Forget to eat or too lazy to eat is a crazy statement. Trying boom boom sticks out in replacement. What's a boom boom stick? Like hand me a head of lettuce. Like an angry turtle. You know, I'm starving. Craving lettuce wraps? Yeah. Good texture. I need to cut off small pieces. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's good that you recognize that, Lord. Like diet smelting salts with essential oils, mint, and lavender. Interesting. Have to wobble over to the fridge. I get that. I have like certain games that do that to me. Like when I play a survival game, I will lock in and the hours will melt away. Will we get frozen veggie mix? Hell yeah. All right. My people back from ads yet? We ready to rock and roll? All right. So let's talk about ARFID, or Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder. Again, I hate acronyms, so understand that if I'm using an acronym, you know it's bad. Also, I'm going to get really small for a minute. I'm blocking this image, and I'll move myself back up. All right. So, this disorder manifests in the extreme pickiness of someone's dietary choices. There's a lot of reasons, but the documented ones that are really well known are consistency in terms of its texture, consistency in terms of its replicatability. The image here to my left or my right shows that, where it's 4 different versions of blueberries where like sometimes they're juicy, sometimes they're squishy, sometimes they're sweet, and sometimes they're sour. Whereas the wheat thin is like the same every time. A lot of people with ARFID, for them it's about consistency with what they're eating. Like, they hate veggies and fruits because they turn relatively quick. And not even turn, but like sometimes you could buy a bag of apples, and some of those apples are not in they weren't all, ripe the exact same day. Well, I avoid raw tomatoes. I love tomatoes, but I hate how they feel to bite into. I mean, some people just have preferences. Remember, this is a disorder, right? This is like it ruins your day, or it alters your life in a very meaningful way with how much this sucks, right? Damn, they got to pray to the RNG gods for eating, right? That's bunk, All right. Because sour compared to a grape, which is squished of sweet. Yeah. I see food, therefore I eat it. Yeah, and obviously you don't struggle with this, right? But this is not the same thing as just like, oh, I don't like this food because of that, or like I don't like this because of mouthfeel. Like, if the big thing is, if you would eat something, even if you like don't like it, you probably don't have this, right? This is like childish tantrum. I'm not going to eat it. I'm going to fight you instead of eating it kind of shit, right? They had a young child who only ate orange food. They had to hide the orange food to get the other foods. Yeah, that's best horror. That kid might have avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. Maybe. I don't know that kid, but signs point to maybe. This often leads to a very selective diet. And stems often from an anxiety about eating in general. Many folks with ARFID have concerns about the process of eating, either through trauma or ignorance. but not limited to these reasons, of course. Oh, sorry, I also missed some of this. Like, some of it's about mouthfeel, and this is a really big one. This one's probably one of the biggest factors for people with ARFID, the danger of choking. Like, a lot of people with this disorder genuinely are fearful of eating certain foods, right? Like, if you've ever met someone who's like, oh, I don't eat fish ever because the bones. And it's like, that's ignorant, right? There's a difference between, like, oh, I don't eat fish straight from the market because of bones. That's realistic. Yeah, a Gimbal says I'm allergic to fish. That's also fine, right? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who look at fish in like a supermarket. They are processed, they are deboned, and they're like, that could be a bone in there. It could be a bone. I'll eat the bone. I'll die. It's like that's irrational, right? I mean, maybe APOP, maybe, but like, yeah. So ARFID, these are people who like really struggle with the idea behind many different types of food for the above listed and many other reasons. Like what was an example from Bestaru, like they had a client whose kid or they had a parent said their kid didn't like anything that wasn't orange. That's ridiculous, right? Like, that's irrational. It doesn't make any sense. But upon understanding, there's a reason for that. There's a reason why that kid only fucks with orange food, right? Like there's an extreme reason why they vibe with only orange food. It makes sense to them. But we have to help those people understand that you need to eat more shit than just, that. Or Sheldon chokes on his breakfast and then refuses to eat any solid food till the end. That could be an example. That could be an example of. It like a lot of things that the Sheldon shows are about. They take neurodivergency and amp that shit up to like Rain Man levels for comedy and drama. So I often don't fuck with those shows for that reason. But yeah. Food OCD, sure, yeah. Don't say that in like a professional way, but like if that's the schema you need for it to make sense in your brain, then yeah, that's fine. You're not hurting anybody with that, right? All right, now we're getting into the obscure shit. You guys ready for some more obscure stuff? Also, boobies on screen. There's boobies on screen. Pay attention. Wake up. Anyway, we're gonna talk about rumination syndrome. Okay? Rumination syndrome. Is that for Hera? Yeah. A bit of an odd duck in this discussion, as it's an exceptionally rare eating disorder. If it's not a digestive disorder, which also there's studies, there's people who study rumination disorder that point to it might be a DI tract disorder, but that's another thing entirely. Anyway, ruminants are a family of animal species characterized by the behavior of ruminating their food, where they chew, swallow, digest, and then regurgitate the semi-processed food back into their mouth to then chew that, what's called cud, or CUD, and then they re-swallow it for another round of digestion. So remember, we love it when people are bovine like this, like Herakita in a Kaukini. This art was drawn by Kunst this morning in less than an hour, because Kunst is a fucking insane artist. And the character is my good friend Herakita. So remember, be a bovine and wear a Kaukini. Do not be a bovine by being a ruminant. Where this syndrome is when a human displays this similar behavior, where they chew their food, swallow it, and then not regret it. What? Fucking autocorrect, I missed that. Then regurgitate that food back into their mouth, whether they either chew it back or spew it or they swallow it again. Rumination syndrome is very, very interesting, very weird. In fact, we're gonna go ahead. Kerbellos, can you copy that message and send it to me so we can make a Kunst command for later? So yeah, rumination syndrome, very interesting, very weird. Just like, I just want to put it, I wanted to showcase this one. This is one I heard about years ago, thought it was interesting then, and I was like, oh, I should talk about rumination syndrome today. It's, again, super weird, super rare. Often it's only really in children, like young children, like under the age of 6. But it can happen in adults. It does happen. Very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. All right, let's talk about pica. Pica, or P-I-C-A, but pronounced pike-a, is a disorder in which people will exhibit the behavior of eating non-food items. This is similar in nature to the infant-like habit of inspecting items with their mouth. So infants are pretty well documented because their most developed sensory organ is their mouth. And so they will pick things up and put it in their mouth so they can study it and understand it better through taste. It's their most defined sense at that point. So, like, they don't have, like, well-articulating fingers yet. It's just kind of like mitts, right? So, like, they just like, oh, okay, I can't eat that. That's nasty. I don't like that. A lot of you use the pikes the animals. Yeah, never. However, people with pica will often swallow these items. So generally, the big difference here, getting called a fucking baby on this Big Sunday is crazy. Yeah, Java Jojo is a friend of mine, and she has pica. And you can see her example there in chat. It's similar in nature to the infant-like habit of expecting items with their mouth. However, people with pica will often then swallow and consume these items. This poses a very evident problem, as some items can be toxic or even cause internal trauma. Now, as you can see, this bottom paragraph here, or bottom section here, is in highlight, and there's a reason for that. From the point it starts being highlighted, it is my opinion, not fact. This is just my take. All right? Excuse me. While there are many causes for this disorder, it is my personal opinion that pica is fundamentally a stimuli-seeking disorder, where the way certain non-food items feel in the mouth or body is pleasing on a sensory level. This is just that is my personal take. That is not like an NIH supported concept. That is just off my dome. I think that pica, again, it has a lot of reasons to it. Oh shit, that's a stick Pokemon. Yeah. Welcome in, digging for nades. But so pica's kind of like a shed, right? Where you finish building your shed, and sometimes you do stupid shit that you don't need to, right? Like, you don't need to hammer a nail into a stud and then bend it halfway through to turn it into a hook. You can drill a hook into it, right? But you like the aesthetic of a bent nail for that. Maybe you're going for a rustic vibe. Like, maybe it just feels good to do certain things. So, pica's like a shed in that, you do weird stuff. It said my iron's dangerously. Yeah. Iron deficiency is actually a pretty consistent a factor for people with pica. So here's a list of random things that are really, really common for people with pica: ash, baby or talcum powder, chalk, charcoal, clay, which, by the way, just real quick, not charcoal. Is it charcoal? Yeah, it's charcoal. Charcoal can be used as a digestive aid in certain circumstances. Talk to your doctor. Don't just eat charcoal. Clay, dirt, or soil, coffee grounds, eggshells, poop. Gross as it is. I've bought edible clay. Yeah, you and two both, and hair, string, or thread, ice. If you know people who are chronic ice chewers, that can be a pica vibe. Laundry starch. Don't eat laundry starch. Paint chips is one of the more dangerous ones. Paper, pebbles. That's me with ice. Yeah, they just like... Ain't that just fun? Stop. Wait, chewing ice count? No, well, broth, like I said, if you chew ice, that does not mean you have pica. But if you have pica, one of the things that a lot of people with pica often do use to satiate their pica is eating ice. Remember, this is not a diagnostic stream. I do not diagnose people. Rory Roo, what's up? I like the taste of metal, so I scared my parents a few times of swallowing coins. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Ice is fine. I mean, ice is fine. Yeah, it can damage your enamel, but, like, let's not get into it. I'm not a dentist. But, like, pet food, soap, wool or cloth, there's a lot of things, right? And also, like, some of these things are not dangerous, right? You can eat coffee grounds on a regular basis, and it probably won't hurt you, right? But, don't do that, idiot. Like, it's not nutritionally valuable, and you shouldn't eat it. I made a cute little Venn diagram of eating disorders. We have bulimia nervosa and anorexia nervosa and binge eating. All three of them together are eating disorders. Anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa combined for eating and purging. Bulimia and binge eating both are binge eating disorders. And anorexia nervosa and binge eating disorders both have a fasting aspect to it. It's ever stopped an American? You're very funny. Thank God binge drinking isn't a disorder. Who's going to tell him? Nintendo support, that's actually borderline adorable. So if I eat them, I grow stronger? No, don't do that. I'll have to watch the VOD later. Also, the slides are on the Discord. Go check out the Discord. Hell yeah, Nate. Alright, pop quiz. Think fast, Chuckle Nuts. In the image I used of a man binge eating, what was he binge eating? Now! What was he eating in the picture? Who was paying attention? Food? Wrong, fucker. Turkey? Okay. Chicken? Your mom? Yeah. Sips coffee. Big meal. I was away. Turkey with the fixins. Corn dog. Salt? I'll fucking kill you. Correct. He was eating a Thanksgiving dinner. It's a massive turkey. There's also a slice of pumpkin pie in there. What color was the center of the Venn diagram? It was just on screen. Who was paying attention? I'm appreciating this light but serious tone, genuinely making things of shit I've locked away less triggering. Hell yeah! Purple, coffee, gray. It said eating disorder, that's correct, Brandon. It was gray. Oh, was it? It was gray! Light gray, if you want to be super specific. But yes, eating disorder was in the middle. I'll make a burp. Hell yeah. What? Where did the shed appear? When did I make a shed analogy? Discussing what? When did we talk about a shed? Pica, correct. The hook. Good. Who was in a Kaukini and why was there a Kaukini on screen? Tell me now. Those ruminates with tatas, not the region. Hera because ruminating. Hera and rumination syndrome. Yes, good. That's correct. It was Heracita in a Kaukini. Art drawn by Kunst. Because we were talking about rumination syndrome, which is a thing that people do where they imitate the rumination habits of ruminants. The programming is taking... I don't recognize that name. Who? Heracita or Kunstigible? Kunst is in chat, and Hera was here earlier, but she's probably just listening and not actually participating. That's Kunst. Yeah, shocker, right? Everyone got the Kaukini question. Who could possibly wonder as to why that happened? And how is PICA, the disorder, pronounced? Kunstgibble? Yeah, I was just having fun with it. Like FICA? Mm-hmm. Pikachu? Yep, nailed it. Pika. Good. Good. You all did very, very well. I'm seeing a lot of copying answers, but good. All right, what are the physiological impacts of eating disorders? Let's discuss. Outside of the very clear effects on your weight and nutrition, having any of the previously mentioned eating disorders can have drastic effects on your body and its stable functioning. Let's look at the image on the left side. We have the physical effects of eating disorders: tiredness and fatigue, teeth loss and enamel damage. Especially with pica, that's very common with enamel damage. Also, if you have one of the eating disorders where you purge by vomiting a lot, if one of us pass, all of us pass. Incorrect. Tooth loss and enamel damage can happen, especially like esophagus damage as well. If you vomit often, that can happen. Bone loss, osteoporosis, and muscle loss. Dry skin, brittle nails, thinning hair. These are signs of malnutrition. Digestive issues. Again, you can damage your digestive tract. If you use a lot of laxatives, you can actually hurt your your lower intestinal tract by just like if you force yourself to poop a lot all of the time, that can really hurt you. Sleeping problems, yeah, if your digestive system is on the fritz, or if you have malnutrition, sleeping is going to be hard for you. Your menstruation can get affected. To our vagina havers out there, if you're not, if you menstruate, like, that can be thrown off, and that's not good. Having your menstruation fucked with is really bad for you. And also, of course, weakened immune system. If you don't give yourself the body you need, then that's not good. Outside of what's mentioned on the left, there are very real and extreme cases of fatality with these disorders. I'm going to get a little real for a second. If you have an eating disorder, I really hope you're taking steps to treat it, because you can die. Eating disorders can lead to death. There's like the really obvious examples of just continuous malnutrition is lethal. If you do a lot of time, if you have like pica and really extreme versions of pica and you eat something genuinely very dangerous, it can puncture one of your organs and that can kill you. Like, there's some stuff here that's really dangerous. In like, obviously, like if you have like a binge eating where you eat a lot and you become like incredibly overweight, that's obviously bad for you for a lot of reasons, cardiovascular, etc. Fatty liver is bad for you. That's bad, right? Yeah, Oxen, that's bad. That's the bad end, right? The endings of life, by the way, that's one of the bad endings. We'll see. I use CPAP. Yep. Might eat something caustic. Yep. It cannot be understated that with the risks of malnutrition, that these conditions that people can harm themselves. Any regular occurrence of purging food can have lasting damages to your digestive tract. Pica and others can lead to ingestion of lethal substances. Also, I included a little like source for this image. I really like this image, and I'm going to try my best to include sources for the images that I use that I don't make. It's kind of amping up the professionalism a little bit. Recent research. We always talk about a recent research here. This one by Feng et al. Is the current discoveries and future implications of eating disorders. The abstract here is eating disorders ED. If you make the joke, you're gone. If you make the joke, 24 hours. Nades? Shoot to stun. Eating disorders, or EDs, are characterized by severe disturbances in eating behaviors and can sometimes be fatal. Eating disorders are also associated with distressing thoughts and emotions. They can have severe conditions affecting physical, psychological, and social functions. Preoccupation with food, body weight, and shape can also play an important role in the regulation of eating disorders. Common eating disorders have three major types: anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, binge eating disorder. In some cases, EDs can have serious consequences for an individual's physical and mental health. These disorders often develop during adolescence and early adulthood and affect both males and females, although they do more commonly are diagnosed in young adult females. Treatment for EDs typically involve a combination of therapy, nutrition counseling, with medical care. In this narrative review, the authors summarize what is known of EDs and discussed the future directions of what may be worth exploring in this emerging area. I highly recommend taking a look at this one. All of the data you need to find this paper are on the screen right now, so please go and look it up. It's a really, really good one. Like, it's a great one-stop shop for all that stuff. Also, big issue. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier today. So, I have an eating disorder. What now? So let's say you've been diagnosed with an eating disorder. What do you do now? You have many choices and have been arguably guided to some and have probably been guided to some therapeutic practices to engage in from your doctor. But here's some minor tips that I can offer to supplement what you've been told. Don't stop eating. This might sound silly, but a lot of people do this really common overcorrection where they engage in eating, like avoidant behaviors when it comes to eating, if they're diagnosed with like a binge eating disorder. But you need to eat. It can also be really, like, the flip side of that is where, like, if you have anorexia, for example, where you already are avoiding, then those people will then potentially find themselves, again, overcorrecting and binge eating. And that can cause them to, in both these instances, it can cause people that are struggling with this to sort of crash and fall and fail. Another one is structure. Many avenues by which eating disorders take root are started with a lack of structure, or in a case of ARFID, too much structure. So develop a structure to your eating schedule and your eating habits. This is a huge one. Eat with people. Often these behaviors can slide by due to isolation, and I don't care if it makes you uncomfortable. Eat with people. Eat with people. Eat with fucking strangers, all right? I don't care if it makes you uncomfortable to eat with people because you're like, I don't want to get judged for my actions. Tough fucking titties. Let social pressure actually do a good thing for once. All right, so someone else... Oh, I didn't change that. Someone else that you know has an eating disorder. What now? Things you can do to help others with these... In fact, hold on. I'm going to fix that. That's going to bother me. Oh, wait. This was supposed to be skipped. Wait, no, it wasn't. People are gross? Tough fucking shit. Be an adult. So, things you can do to help other people with these disorders. Be a friend, not a source of pain. Eat with them. Guide them away from their bad habits and disorderly behaviors with kindness. With kindness. You do not need to be a source of shame for people. When serving, if you are the person serving them a meal, make sure you alter their serving sizes for them if you're able to do so. Only do so with their permission. Shame is a major factor for people with eating disorders often, because it comes off. A lot of these come with anxiety and nervousness, like nervosa implies. So, like, if you're trying your best to help somebody, make sure you have their consent before you're making these choices on their behalf. It can be very helpful for someone else to take the onus of portion control for them. But, like, if you have a friend who is struggling and recovering from anorexia, and they say you can give them the servings, and you give them, they're like, that's too much. And I'm like, you asked me to help you, right? Like, try. Just tell them to try. Don't be like, surprise psychiatric treatment. Do not do this. Yeah. Yeah, do not just fucking surprise people. If someone's struggling with bulimia or a binging, serve them smaller servings. Be like, that's not enough food. Well, then eat that first, and then let me know how you feel, and we'll have a second serving afterwards, right? There was more to this, but I ran out of time. Going to my bad. I literally write these lectures the morning of, and I got distracted and sorry. There's other stuff that you can do to help people who have eating disorders, and so this is going to be a little off the cuff here. Make sure that you be helpful, and I really cannot stress, like, you want to be supportive. You are guiding people to better habits. You're being an active force in helping them course correct, right? You do not want to be a source of shame. You do not want to be you do not want to accidentally re-traumatize. Exactly. Also, you're their guide, not their savior. It's not your fucking job to make someone get better from pica or to get better from anorexia or bulimia or whatever else. That's not your damn job. You're their friend. It's okay and it's good to be supportive, but know your fucking place. So, why are we talking about eating disorders? Everybody eats. Everybody eats. Eating is one of the most global of experiences. Eating disorders are a genuine threat to people's health, and a greater understanding of these things can arm us to defend against them, as well as help us learn how to guide those we care about away from their grasps. My little personal quote here. The fastest and most consistent way to learn the intimate details of another is to break bread with them. I fundamentally agree with that. Best Dwarf Boy, I'm literally right here. Mizutaku, words hurt. So take today's lecture and stew on it, really mash it into your mind and let it ferment into your thoughts. With this simmered into your psyche, you can recognize that introspecting about your own eating habits can help you be your best self, even if it is comfortable to not do so. Who else here hears it when they read the GIF? Who else, when they see the GIF, who hears it? Yeah. Yeah, I do too. Bread. Ahoy! I'll watch the show one day. I highly recommend it. Actually, you know what? That's homework. That's my homework. That's my homework for you guys. Go and watch, or in fact, read Dungeon Meshi. Bread makes you fat? That's a great quote. I'll finish Dungeon Meshi one day. I highly recommend either watching it or reading it. I genuinely think it will challenge how you look at food. I really do. I really do think. Oh, my headphones fell off. Whoops. But yeah, look into it. All right, post-lecture quiz. Who can tell me what constitutes as an eating disorder? Tell me. No, Faye, that's different. Fasting is just a behavior that several different types of eating disorders can exhibit. Fasting can be done in a healthy way. A disorder that involves eating. Okay, what the fuck's a disorder then, Krim? Stress eating? What is an eating disorder? Condition where your eating habits and behaviors cause significant day-to-day problems. Very textbook jaunty. Love that. Something that affects your daily life. That's what a disorder is. But bring the eating into that answer, Oxen. Half credit. Consistent bad eating habits. Very close. Very, very genuine answer, but very close. Eating habits that cause you harm or distress. Good. Missing the chronic aspect to that answer, Yomomodori, but otherwise good answer. Let's see. The patterns of eating or consumption disrupt your daily life and create unhealthy situation. Great. Love that, Afa. Very, very good. You can fast, but do so responsibly with guidance from your GP because it affects you daily. Yeah, not answer the question, but a very nice callback to what Faye Russ was saying. Thank you, Mizu. Question 2. What are some antecedents for eating disorders? An antecedent, by the way, is a what happens before, what can cause, perhaps, is another way to word that question. What is the setup for an eating disorder? Trauma, love that answer. Simple and effective answer. Cause damage to a person either physically or mentally. Yep. Malnutrition. That can often be a symptom of it. Shame, very good answer. Stress, trauma, social pressure, bad eating habits. Body dysmorphia is one. Yeah, body dysmorphia or dysmorphia is definitely one. That's one that's very much in line with anorexia nervosa. Good. Define, what does binging mean? What does it mean to binge? Culture, love that. Culture, self-image, yes. Or food was scarce, absolutely. What does it mean to binge? Or tell me what the etymology of the term anorexia nervosa means. What does anorexia nervosa, like, what is the etymology? What does those two words translate to? Signals of self-image, great answer. Self-image trauma, very good. Or you can tell me what binge eating is. Tell me one of the others for question number 3. Habitual or excessive. So close, Krim. It's habitual and excessive. Frequent unrestrained overeating. Perfect answer. Urakaya. Food avoidance. That's what it is. What is the etymology? Binging is overeating consistently. Yes, very good. Not quite. No. Ignoring every full. Nope, not quite. Binge is to frequently indulge unrestrained eating. Very, very correct. All right. Binge is excessive consumption of something, food or alcohol, and it appears that. We're going to go to the beginning. So.
Rock and stone.
WORTH.
Hi, Akami dear. So, anorexia nervosa roughly translates to nervousness without appetite. So nervosa means nervous, anorexia means without appetite, ergo anorexia nervosa is simply nervousness without appetite. And I'll give you the etymology for bulimia nervosa for free. Bulimia means ravenous hunger or ox-like hunger. Ergo, bulimia nervosa is simply nervousness with great appetite. So, why might somebody, there's a lot of answers for this, so very easy question. Why might someone with ARFID or a food restrictive, I forget the acronym. That's why I hate fucking acronyms. ARFID be avoidant of certain food items? Why might someone be avoidant of food items with this disease or with this disorder? Fear of choking, danger, texture, avoidant, restrictive food intake disorder. Thank you, Jonty. Thank you for knowing the content of this lecture better than I do. Doesn't like the taste, consistency, texture, sensory. Yep. Rory Roo, just a quick question. No, never mind. That's not who I think it is. Never mind. I thought you were an IRL buddy of mine, but you're not. Unless I'm mistaken. I don't think you're an IRL buddy of mine. Class has been doing so good today. Yeah. Whoops. Hi, Hera. Everyone loved your Kaukini picture, Hera. And everyone... Hera, everyone got the mid. I really loved it, and everyone got the mid lecture pop quiz correction. Everyone got that correct when I said who was in the Kaukini and why was there a Kaukini. Everybody was like, it's Herakita, because we were talking about rumination syndrome. Like everyone, everyone got it, which is very funny to me. All right, but you guys got that one right. Number 4, absolutely. Why may someone with avoidant restrictive food intake disorder? You owe me a follow. That's true. That's true. You also jingled your keys to draw attention to it. Yeah, we'll pretend like that was a very relevant factor. Starts as a sheep, becomes a dog, dresses as a cow. Hera is an enigma. Correct. Anything else? Everyone knows what rumination syndrome is now because of Hera's bahubis. Mm-hmm. All right. So, question number 5, our last question. What are some problems that eating disorders can cause? Mortis. Correct. Death. Fatigue, financial burden, gastrointestinal issue, weakened immune system. Correct answers. Malnutrition, rupture of stomach or enamel erosion. Correct. Metabolic syndromes to sleeping disorders, loss of teeth and enamel, body weight gain and loss. Yep. Any problems? Correct. Well done, well done. All right, so great job on the post-lecture quiz, everybody. Really proud of you. You clearly retained some amount of information. In September, we're going to be doing the psychology of video games. A very, very interesting topic. There'll be a lot to talk about. That's what I'm genuinely very much looking forward to. These are uploading to YouTube. Yeah, we're live on YouTube right now. So if you want to go check that over there, this lecture will be over there. Also, if you go to the Discord, the slides will be shared there. And later today, I'll be uploading all the old ones over there as well. Rest of the year, we're going to be talking about ego. We're maybe going to revisit an old topic. We're going to talk about personalities, cognitive distortions, relationships, and mania. I like Psychonauts. No, not necessarily psychology in video games, like games that talk about psychology. We'll be talking about the psychology of video games. So, pretty, like, old school RuneScape? Yes. In fact, I'm going to write that now. I'm going to include old school RuneScape in that lecture for you. We'll cover something like Journey? Maybe. The Psych of Gotcha? That's going to be a big part of it. Phantom Entropy, welcome in. Should we talk about Journey? Yeah. I love this presentation. I learned so much. Thank you. You're very welcome. I'm glad you guys enjoy them. Q&A. Is there any Q's that I can A? What's the most common eating disorder? I don't know. Google.com. I say that not to be shitty. I just genuinely don't know that statistic. I'm so sorry. I don't know if it's specifically diagnosed rather than how many people have such disorders. Do they expect the undiagnosed to be skewed so much? Yes. Also, everyone say happy birthday to Izzy. It was her birthday yesterday. It was my wife's birthday yesterday. It was Izzy's birthday yesterday. It was Sigurd from Sigurd and Bird's birthday yesterday. It was Cyrax's birthday yesterday. It is so many people's birthday this weekend. Question? Go ahead. Food competitors could be a cause of binge disorders. Are people... is there some... So, Oxen, I would say there's definitely the possibility that people who struggle with binge eating use food eating competitions as a way to hide that shame. That's my best guess for you. But there's, as far as I know, there is no like meta-analysis of whether or not there's a consistency there. How often do these happen? Once a month. We do these every month. I try to do these lectures every month. I made a creature on Halloween. Or as to keep a skill shot. It's true. Big game one next month. Also, welcome in, Lely Minus TV. Welcome in. Sounds particularly interesting. Yeah, I think my lectures are pretty damn good. I know that that's not what you meant, but I'm just using that opportunity. Any tips for Pyromancer in Dark Souls 1? Grind souls, dog. I don't know. What do you want? Humble, by the way. It's true. I'm very humble. I'm very humble, very handsome, very smart, very wise. I'm really good at video games. I love my wife. Yeah. You need more H words, Hora. Wow. Loves goblins. I think that Tootsie is very, very pleasant. Very demure. Sure. What's up, King? What's up, Cardell? You got a sick beard? I do. Humble, handsome Hora. It's me. What sorts of eating disorders do you find are more prevalent with the younger age groups that you typically work with? Avoidant, restrictive diet disorder. Very common in young kids with autism, I think. With autism, there's often avoidance of certain foods. Yeah, I was just talking about the Urukaya. Yep. Are you asking? What's your question? Did you go to school for psychology? Hi, I'm Horatius the Dwarf, an Vtuber, and by trade, I'm a mental health professional. I have over 7 years of experience. I'm currently employed as a special education teacher. I have experience with ABA, which I'm not a fan of. I've done addiction counseling, behavioral management, case manager work, a one-on-one behavioral aid with an education setting, intensive in-home, crisis management, conflict resolution, and CBT cognitive behavioral therapy. Yes, I went to school for psychology. Reminded me of my college years. Or I got schooled. Yes, I'm a bad academic. The Arch Linux users of relationships. I have no idea what the fuck that means. No, because I know some good folks who didn't, but do so wonderful work. So, Cardell, I've talked about this in length, and I'll talk about it now. I think that if someone is a mental health advocate, that's great. They should definitely continue to advocate for mental health and understanding. But also, they should sit down and shut the fuck up. Because they do a lot of yapping. Because they have anecdotal understanding of mental health. And I don't like a lot of them. I think that they have good intentions, and that's great. And they should sit down and shut up because they don't know what they're talking about most of the time. Unknown framework, yeah. Stay in your lanes, please. Coming from us, from all professionals. Yeah, my Psychoshi, Lady J Sykes, says the same thing, so that means I'm, I'm right. Very untie mental knots. No, not necessarily. Like if you have experience in addiction, like if you've been an addict, I think that being someone who has struggled with something gives you a very, very special avenue to help other people with that, right? That said, you're not a mental health professional. Know where your line is. Know how much you can give. It all depends on the person because it's a very delicate area. No, actually, it doesn't. I'm going to kind of put my foot down about this. I don't think you're bad for saying that, Cardell, but I think, genuinely, a lot of people that I see who step up and try and say stuff that they think they know about mental health as a mental health advocate, they're just wrong. Like, sorry, I'm not blowing up on you. You're reminding me about how much I despise some of those people. And you have on addiction on the YouTube channel. I do. It's old. That might be a topic we come back to someday in the future. I do definitely still have the lecture notes for that though, and that'll be posted on the Discord later today. The more you know you don't know. So real. So real. I literally talked about it in this lecture that this eating disorders is not a topic that I specialize in, and I looked to people in the chat to be like, hey, if you have particular experience in eating disorders, please feel free to talk about it, right? Better than spirit science? That's not a high bar, and I'm choosing to take that compliment, Bertharion. Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to go ahead and kill the YouTube stream. Goodbye, YouTube.